Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Spencer Ferreira.
And I'm Alexa Costin. In the latest news out of Israel, a drone attack launched by Hezbollah killed 4 Israeli soldiers and injured 60 others. The attack occurred on Sunday evening and hit an army base 40 miles from the Lebanese border. Israel is investigating how the drones were able to enter its airspace without triggering an alert. The U.S. Secretary of Defense says that Israel will be taking a forceful response against Hezbollah. The Pentagon announced that an air defense system along with 100 soldiers would be deployed as a visible commitment to Israel's security.
President Biden visited Florida and has surveyed the damage caused by Hurricane Milton. Biden viewed the damage from a helicopter between Tampa and St. Petersburg. The damage generated by Hurricane Milton is still a cause of concern for many residents due to their inability to get access to gas and power in many of their homes. While President Biden thanked first responders, he recognizes that much more has to be done to try to bring a sense of normalcy to the area.
Election season is upon us and early voting is already taking place. However, that doesn't mean that the presidential nominees will stop campaigning. That's the case for former President Trump as he stopped by California this weekend. Our Spencer Ferreira covered the rally.
Former President Trump held a rally in Coachella during some cool 100-degree weather. People were lining up as early as 6 a.m. just to get in. Shuttle buses were required to be taken to and from the venue. Trump started his rally by talking about immigration and detailing his plans for what he calls Operation Aurora.
I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil.
Trump also emphasized the types of tax cuts he plans to bring if elected to office.
No tax on tips. No tax on overtime. And no tax on Social Security benefits for our seniors.
Secret Service and sheriffs had their work cut out for them. A man was arrested for possessing multiple illegal firearms. He was taken into custody just before the scheduled start time of the rally. He has since been released on a $5,000 bail. After the rally, supporters were left stranded waiting for bus pickup. There were 3 designated parking lots that people came in from. While leaving, there was only one location to go for pickup. There were no designated area for each of the bus pickup spots. This resulted in people walking in the streets, not allowing the buses to get through. Several hours went by until all buses were cut off, forcing people to walk miles to their cars. Trump also stirred up controversy, claiming he would deny California federal wildfire aid. More on that later with our weather anchor, Jess Brumana.
Vice President Harris is set to have another on-screen interview. This time it will be on Fox News with Brent Baier. It will be her first interview with a network that opposes her political views. Bill Clinton shared his thoughts on the opposing party.
And the thing that bothers me more about the opposition campaign, even than any lies, are all the I's.
That's right.
Sun came out today. I did it.
The Nobel Memorial Prize in Economics has been awarded to 3 economists for their research as to why some countries become rich and others are poor. The Economics Prize is officially known as the Bank of Sweden Prize in Economic Sciences. The 3 economists will share the prize of 11 million Swedish kroner, which is equivalent to $1 million.
A new minimum wage increase starts for California healthcare workers this week after months of delays. The minimum wage boost was supposed to go into effect June 1st, but was delayed because of budget concerns. Now, nearly 500,000 healthcare workers are expecting to get a raise this week.
LA Mayor Bass announced the launch of a new program called Procure LA to support small businesses during an inaugural sports and entertainment summit at the convention center last week. Through the program, businesses will receive one-on-one consultation from the city's Business Source Center, training and assistance with certification, proposal development, and so much more to equip small businesses for successful bidding.
7-Eleven will be closing more than 400 store locations across North America. The company revealed that the shutdown is due to various issues, including slowed sales and declined traffic. However, 7-Eleven says it will still invest in food throughout the U.S. as it is the highest sales category for customers.
In similar news, the safety of 7-Eleven and small business employees are a massive concern following the recent surge of flash mob robberies. Our Tony Santos has more on whether or not employees are prepared for this situation.
Lately, there have been a lot of what is being referred to as flash mob robberies to 7-Elevens all across Los Angeles. This not only puts the life and safety of an employee at risk, but it can also affect small businesses like this one right here.
Off the top of my head, I don't think so, no. I'm not really fearful for our store in particular since there's like pretty good security or in like the plaza, but it is like worrisome for like the community to see like these crimes happening.
Usually, these lootings take place in the middle of the night or very early hours of the morning. Places open 24 hours a day are massive targets simply because anyone can arrive anytime. This makes it easy for crooks to strategize when mobbing a certain location.
Yeah, we don't really have like inventory out for like customers, so it's not like, I don't think a flash robbery would really like work here, but I'm not sure about like other stores where like if you have like a fridge outside or things like that, like how you can prevent that.
For Valley View News, I'm Tony Santos. Back to you in the studio.
Tony, thank you. Lottery officials have announced that it will now cost $5 to play Mega Millions starting next year. The Mega Millions currently cost $2, and the reason for the price increase is to improve jackpot odds, more frequent prizes, and even larger payouts. Lottery officials will announce specifics about these changes in the coming months.
Officials have announced a new hotel coming to Hollywood Park in Inglewood. An opening ceremony is set for October 22nd. The new hotel and rooftop will be located adjacent to SoFi Stadium and just a couple miles from LAX.
The ongoing strike by Boeing machinists is expected to continue for approximately 2 to 5 more weeks. Last week, John Holden, the president of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, pushed for negotiations to resume. Workers on strike haven't received paychecks or paid benefits since the end of September. This dilemma also delays the dates of completion for new commercial and freight aircrafts. Boeing is expected to report fourth quarter losses and lay off nearly 10% of its worldwide workforce in the near future. More to come on Valley View News. Students hoping for future careers in technology are getting a head start thanks to New Verizon Labs.
And everything you need to know about Hulu's first ever Spanish language series. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Spencer Ferreira.
And I'm Jess Brumana.
Please welcome President-elect Donald J. Trump.
America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate.
Former President Donald Trump has been elected as the 47th President of the United States. Vice President Kamala Harris conceded by congratulating Trump, discussing the importance of a peaceful transfer of power. Trump is now the second president to be elected to 2 non-consecutive terms and the first convicted of felonies. Harris underperformed across the country, falling behind in several swing states that President Joe Biden had won. Republicans will control the Senate for the first time in 4 years. Senate Republicans ousted Democrats in red states to secure the majority, 52 to 43 with a few seats undecided. House control remains uncalled. The stocks on Wall Street rose considerably as a result of the election.
Several CSUN students voiced their opinions and concerns following the results of the election.
And I think that I'm very concerned about what's going to happen now. But hopefully we have to find a way to move forward.
We'll see. I have no feelings to it because whatever happens, happens.
The election did not go how I and a lot of people did not want it to go. So yeah, it sucks. It's the best way I can put it.
I felt really overwhelmed, and it was really unexpected, to be honest. I didn't really was expecting that outcome.
On the left side of the political spectrum, students are hoping that the results of this election leads to more local activism.
My hope for the next 4 years personally is that people become inspired to get involved in their communities, because I feel like right now we'll need community support from each other more than anything. So I'm really hoping that regardless of a Trump presidency, that people still see it in them to go out and protest, to go out and demand more. So I'm hoping that is the 4-year plan, that people can organize to fight against this administration that's coming in that claims to really come in down with a hammer on marginalized communities.
The line was forming early on CSUN's campus as people were eager to cast their ballots. Our Spencer Ferreira was on the scene to get a glimpse on Election Day.
It's Election Day, and CSUN's campus is a voting center where people can cast their ballots for President of the United States. CSUN's voting center is located at Redwood Hall, and people are lining up to make their voices heard. Officials say there are tons of first-time voters. One thing to note is that first-time voting isn't always happening when you turn 18.
So for the last couple years, due to religious reasons, I didn't vote, and I thought that it wouldn't matter anyway. So now that I left that religion, I feel like now is the opportunity to really make a difference and just change the future of what America can be.
While there are many first-time voters, there are also those who can't vote. Some people believe voting is an opportunity for ineligible voters to make their voices heard.
I'm not really in favor for either candidate, but I think it's important to exercise that right, to exercise the right to vote, because a lot of people, especially within my family, aren't able to vote. So sometimes it's not even my own vote. I'm also voting for my family and in retrospect as well. So it's very important to exercise that right because a lot of people don't have it.
Voters have a variety of reasons to make the choices they do.
I love positive change. I love people making their own decisions. I love people just doing stuff for their own good and good benefit, you know.
The polling does close at 8 o'clock, so it is recommended to get here sooner before the line behind me gets even longer. At Cal State Northridge, Spencer Ferreira, Valley View News.
Thank you, Spencer. Millions of voters turned out to cast their ballots for the 2024 presidential election, with officials reporting steady turnout in key states. Voters were able to voice their concerns with both presidential candidates' policies and make sure that others got out to vote as well.
Yeah, it's a very important election. It's important that everyone gets out and votes, and I think that there's a lot riding on this election. So it's very important that everybody gets out and votes.
I think the way people have been attacking each other is horrific, and I think we need to learn to love our country more than we hate a candidate.
Polling centers opened as early as 7 a.m. and closed at 8 p.m.
Several voters also voiced their thoughts on how this election compares to past elections, as well as how the outcome will affect them.
I did my own research. Obviously listened to what both sides of the media had to say. I listened to independent voices. I'm 30 years old, so I'm a millennial, and so I just want to speak to all the millennials and Gen Zers that, it's okay to question things. It's okay to do your own research. It's okay to have fruitful conversations, whatever side of the political aisle you're on, because I think that without those conversations, we're not going to be able to heal this country.
Growing up, I never thought something like this would ever happen, where it's so completely opposite and so crucial, the way the world is right now. That's what's dangerous. It's a dangerous situation right now.
How this election differs from others, I believe that it differs in the fact that we finally have a woman running for president. And as a woman, I feel like she can meet my needs as a president when it comes to my body. Usually it's men deciding for us as women. When it comes to abortion laws or stuff like that, I just feel like we finally have a woman that, and a woman that is a mother that understands where us women come from.
Heading into the evening, record numbers of voters continued to cast their ballots. Our Jess Brumana spoke to voters as they exited the polls to see how CSUN students felt on the big issues.
The clock keeps ticking and ballots are still being cast. With less than an hour remaining, students and community members are still wrapped around the building, standing in the November chill. The majority of those here tonight are students, and many are voting in their very first presidential election. For some first-time voters, this experience has been very eye-opening.
I wouldn't say scary exactly, but I would just say it's a lot more to think about, just kind of new things that I have in my head now, just that I should be more updated on.
In a quick survey, students say economic issues are the most important to them, especially regarding affordable housing and minimum wage. Around half the students surveyed also said they feel that the outcome of this election will affect attitudes and the climate around campus.
Just depending on who we get is going to affect people, because I know most people worry about gas prices. Some other people worry about the expenses, and I feel like that's going to really change the attitude. I know some people on campus, more stress, more. There's just a lot of emotions going around.
And surprisingly, about half of the voters here decided who and what to vote for within the last few days. From Northridge, Jess Romana, Valley View News.
Along with the presidential election, voters also made decisions at the state, county, and city levels. At the state level, Propositions 2 and 3 have passed.
Prop 4 is passed, while 5 has not.
Neither Prop 6 or 32 passed.
Prop 33 did not pass, but Prop 34 did.
And both Props 35 and 36 passed.
At the county level, both Measures A and G were passed.
At the city level, Measure DD and HH passed.
Measures II and ER passed.
Measures FF and LL passed.
And finally, Measure US passed. In addition, Nathan Hochman won the race for Los Angeles County District Attorney, beating George Gascon. Adam Schiff defeated Steve Garvey for the U.S. Senate seat.
There are many community election workers to make every election day run smoothly. Some workers said they saw long lines throughout the whole day.
Hundreds and hundreds. A lot of people have been through. I don't know what the full count is, but line's been long for several hours. Yes, I voted by mail weeks ago. First or second weekend after getting the ballot, I spent 6-7 hours filling it out, sent it in.
As we reflect on this year's election, something to consider is how media and politics will evolve after the outcome of this year's election. Our Tony Santos sat down with CSUN's head of the Entertainment Media Management Program, Todd Holmes, to get his reaction on this year's election.
So we're sat here with Dr. Todd Holmes. Mr. Todd Holmes, thank you for joining us today.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Tony.
Yeah, so
appreciate it.
How's your day today?
Oh, it's great. It's very good. Very good. Busy day, but good.
That's great to hear. Well, we're going to dive into this right now. How do you think media coverage has shaped voter behavior this year? And do you feel it's had more influence compared to past elections?
Well, I think it's interesting to consider it because things have really changed certainly over the years. I mean, now there's so many specialized and niche media sources now that people go to. So it's certainly, things have definitely changed a lot since then, from when I was in college and such, back in the 90s. So it's interesting though to see those changes and how people get their news a lot of their political news and things from podcasters and from very niche specialized sources, as well as mainstream. I think particularly a lot of your middle-aged or older people are still relying a lot on your major network newscasts, myself included. I watch network newscasts every night. I watch usually NBC, Nightly News, Lester Holt. So for me, that's a good source. I also watch some of the 24-hour news networks. I try to mix it up myself between CNN, MSNBC, and occasionally flip over to Fox News just to kind of get some different perspectives. But I think in today's world, I think there's been a lot more, particularly with younger voters, a lot more influence of podcasters and of very specialized news services. So I think the landscape has really changed, and the information that is out there then I think is obviously then more varied than we've had in the past, and I think that certainly had an impact certainly on the election results that we've seen.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess just to build off of that, based on your experience in audience research, have you noticed any key trends in how different demographics are engaging with election content?
Yeah, well, I would say some of what I was just saying there. I think a lot of your younger viewers and such, younger audience members are going again more to these specialized sites. They're just not as interested as much in seeing the longer form news content. So they are going to these podcasters, and they feel like too that they have this relationship sometimes with these podcasters, and they can really feel in some ways the level of trust they might feel might be a little bit higher. And I think that drives a lot of it, that level of trust that people go to certain sources for. And I think that includes myself, I think anyone else really, that you feel that news source sort of aligns somewhat with your values and your outlook on life. But of course that can be problematic too, because sometimes it makes it that much harder for us to see the bigger picture and to view things outside of sort of, what some people refer to as echo chambers, where we're hearing a lot more of the same. And certainly social media and algorithms with social media even help propel that even further and have us all sort of a little bit more not exposed maybe to as much differing viewpoints or the opposite viewpoint maybe that we might have. And I think that certainly has driven somewhat the division that we see in this country and why we're so divided today. And I don't know really fully what the solution is, but it does seem that it's, we have become more and more divided than we were, 20, 30 years ago, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah. No, yeah. So you probably know this better than anyone, but branding is a huge part of entertainment, right? So how important do you think it's been for political candidates this year? And do you see any similarities between the two?
Yeah, I think branding is extremely important. And I think having a cohesive message and a clear message to voters, I think is really important. And I think that has been a little bit more of a challenge, I think, certainly for Kamala Harris, just because, again, coming into the race a little bit later, and the fact that, she's trying to, certainly with a lot of the positive things that the Biden administration has done, trying to attach herself to those, but then also differentiate herself in certain ways from Joe Biden. And I think that's been a real challenge for her, and I think it would be for anyone, again, if they've been part of the administration and now they're taking over the reins. This has been certainly a unique situation where the incumbent president, again, steps aside and she takes over. And I think that has been a problem. Whereas on the other side with Trump, I think he has had a clear message, and he's been, around the political world now for some time now, of course, first running in 2016. So people, I think, had more of a clear idea of his message. Whether they agree with it or not, they felt that it was a little bit more clear, and it was a little bit more understandable, I think, for certain people. And I think looking at the results, it seems like that I think the branding that he had and the cohesive message certainly helped him again. And I'm not not saying whether that people necessarily like his message or not, or dislike it. It's just that from a marketing and branding standpoint, I think that he's been effective.
Well, that's all we have for today, Dr. Holmes. Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure to sit down with you and just talk,
Thank you so much for the opportunity,
Yeah,
Tony. I really
great.
appreciate it. Yeah, it's been great.
Back to you.
Thank you, Tony. Nearly 200,000 people attended the Dodgers World Series parade last week. The World Series champs rode on open-top, double-decker buses for the mile parade. Families, photographers, reporters, and even Shohei Ohtani's dog, Decoy, were aboard the double-deckers with the team. Many fans staked out a spot along the route well before dawn. The parade started at City Hall and ended in the area of 5th and Flower Streets. The World Series champions will open next season against the Chicago Cubs in the Tokyo Series. The beloved Dodger Fernando Valenzuela was remembered in a funeral mass at the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Angels in downtown LA on Wednesday.
More to come on Valley View News. The holiday season is upon us, and why you should stay away from consuming too much sugar.
Plus, the music industry has lost one of its legendary music producers.
And you can start turning diapers into what? We'll tell you when we return.
Right, we got a lot going on in sports. It's a great time to be an LA fan, but we have to talk about Fernando Valenzuela. As you guys know, he passed away, and we would like to send our condolences to the family of his. He passed away at 63 years old. Valenzuela was a Dodger legend who won 2 championships with the team. The Dodgers honored him before Game 1 of the World Series by placing a ball on the mound underneath his number. They're also going to be honoring him throughout the World Series and next season by wearing a patch on their jerseys. On to the game, it was electric to say the least. Let's get right to the end. 10th inning, bases loaded, 2 outs. Freddie Freeman heads to the plate, and in the shades of Kirk Gibson, he sends the first pitch he sees to deep right field for a walk-off grand slam. It's the first walk-off grand slam in World Series history. After a season where he has dealt with health issues with his son and a sprained ankle, he and his wife are now giving away 2 World Series tickets on their Instagram. Game 2 of the World Series came right down to the end as well. Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez, and Tommy Edman each homered. Fast forward to the top of the 9th inning, the Yankees had the bases loaded with 2 out. Alex Vesia came into the game, and it only took 1 pitch to get a flyout and a 2-0 series lead. The Dodgers are set to head to the Bronx for games 3 through 5. Shohei Ohtani is expected to play going forward despite suffering a shoulder injury.
The NBA season is also underway, and LeBron James and the Lakers are already making history. LeBron and his son Bronny became the first father-son duo to take court in NBA history. The Lakers started the season 3-0 with wins over the Timberwolves, Suns, and Kings. Against the Kings, LeBron finished with a triple-double, scoring 32 points and totaling 14 rebounds and 10 assists. Anthony Davis is also having a strong start to the season, averaging 34 points and 11 rebounds. The Clippers are starting their new season in the newly built Intuit Dome in Inglewood. They will also be without Kawhi Leonard for the foreseeable future. They started their season 2-1 with back-to-back wins over the Nuggets and Warriors. James Harden appears to be the focal point of the offense, averaging 25 points and 11 assists per game. Norman Powell is also having a hot start to the season, averaging over 24 points per game. Meanwhile, Week 8 of the NFL season is in the books. The Rams kicked it off with a 30-20 win over the Vikings, but not without some controversy after a no-call face mask penalty that essentially sealed the game. Wide receivers Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp made their return to the field after dealing with injuries the past couple of weeks. They combined for 157 yards on 12 receptions and a touchdown. They are set up for a divisional battle against the Seahawks next week. The Chargers hosted the Saints this week. In what was a tightly contested first half, the Chargers were able to pull away in the second half, winning 26-8. Quarterback Justin Herbert finished with 279 yards and 2 touchdowns, both of which he found wide receiver Ladd McConkey. The Chargers are set to travel to Cleveland for a matchup against the Browns. Switching to college, USC won comfortably against Rutgers 42-20. Quarterback Miller Moss tossed for 308 yards and 2 touchdowns. Running back Jaquavius Marks also contributed 3 touchdowns of his own. They improved to 4-4 on the season and are set to travel to Washington for a Big Ten matchup. On the ice, the Anaheim Ducks lost to the Devils 6-2. Devils right winger Stefan Noisen scored 2 goals and goalie Jacob Markstrom totaled 24 saves. The Ducks ended up falling to 3-4-1 on the season. But luckily, that's not the only team in Southern California. The Kings improved to 4-4-1 with a 3-2 win over the Utah Hockey Club. Defenseman Joel Edmondson scored twice to essentially seal the win for LA. UFC 308 took place in Abu Dhabi, and it was headlined by a featherweight championship fight, with Ilia Topuria making his first title defense against former champion Max Holloway. Topuria became the first person to ever knock out Holloway, doing so with 134 to go in the third round. The co-main was a middleweight fight between Khamzat Chimaev and Robert Whittaker. Chimaev made quick work of Whittaker by breaking his jaw and forcing a submission in the first round. Whittaker addressed his injury on Instagram, saying he will be back soon. But that's all I have for sports. Back to you, Jess and Tony.